Guys, welcome back. It is a Built by Vitality podcast. My name is Steve Pinkerton, and I'm sitting next to
Philip
Lewis. And today's episode, he keeps wanting me to get closer. How close do we have to get today?
We're good.
Every day he comes in, we got to get closer. Today's episode, we are going to talk about the top 3 reasons entrepreneurs fail.
I know number 1.
Really?
They give up.
Okay.
Basically, right?
Okay. All right. My man. It's not one of them.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about these 3, and look, there's probably 30 reasons, and many of them are interchangeable. These are just the 3 that I think are the most prevalent in the entrepreneurial world, and ones that I've experienced myself throughout this journey of vitality. In no particular order, the first one is they listen to the noise. They listen to everybody that wants to give their input on their idea.
I would do it this way. You're not going to make it. That'll never work.
Anytime in your life that you're going to do something that's different, that's against the grain, that is going upstream instead of downstream, anytime, no matter what it is, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get it from your friends. You're going to get it from your family. You're going to get it from people that you've never met before. That's the way it works. You're going to get people that doubt your abilities. Subconsciously, I believe, I've got a psychology degree, barely graduated college. Okay. So I have there's no knowledge of educational.
You really have a psychology degree?
I do.
That's nuts.
I know. Yeah. I did not do what I was supposed to do between the walls of higher education. I did not take advantage of the opportunities I was given.
I did.
Educationally speaking.
Physically.
Physically, maybe. But I believe, and I'm sure there's a word for this that any psychology major should know, but I do not. I believe that this is because people doubt you. People hate on you because they don't want to see you succeed. They don't want you to have the financial freedom that they've always dreamed about having, but never made possible. They don't want you to experience that because they don't get to experience it. Now that's subconsciously. They might not.
They're not going
to tell you that. They might not even believe that's why they're fighting you so much on it, but that's in the back of their head. That's what's happening. They also don't have the confidence in themselves that you have in yourself, if that makes sense. There's a reason why you bet on yourself. You believe, and I've always believed, I would rather bet on myself than anybody else. Why am I going to bet on someone else to do the work and to be successful when I can bet on myself? I'll bet on myself 100 times out of 100.
Unless I was involved, you'd bet on me.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I would probably, if it was me or you, I'd bet on you. You'd be like
other than that,
you'd be like the same opportunity that the Vancouver Grizzlies have of winning the NBA championships. Okay. That'd be the odds I would put on you. I'm just kidding. But here's the thing, to them, they're trying to keep you from making a mistake because they have such little confidence in themselves. They can't imagine how you could have that much confidence in yourself to be successful at something that you're thinking about doing.
Well, they kind of call you crazy for even thinking that way or trying it.
Well, here's the other thing. Do you know, without looking at my show notes, do you know what percentage of the country is entrepreneurs?
Oh, gosh. Probably like 8%.
15%. 15%. Now, we're going to talk about that as well because there's a percentage of those are not full-time entrepreneurs. And I personally, this might rub people the wrong way, I don't consider yourself an entrepreneur if you're not a full-time entrepreneur. You can't put your toe in the water and decide, oh, well, I'm only an entrepreneur if it works. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that later on in the show. But 15%, which means 85% of the people that you talk to or that you're surrounded with have no idea what it is you're about to go through, what the hardships are, or anything associated with it. So why do we put so much stock into what other people think? Why do we care so much about what some idiot on Facebook says about me?
Yeah.
But think about it. Again, I come back to it now. I don't even go on Facebook anymore because it's so ridiculous reading the comments. It's like I am obsessed over a post that I made, and there's 50 comments from 38 people I have never met in my life, but yet those negative comments are going to affect my my day. But it does. People get extremely aggressive and angry about these comments.
Yeah.
Who cares? But yet, on a much more personal level, when there are people that you know and that you associate with, and they give you feedback, the first thing you need to think about is, well, what experience do they have? I mean, how many entrepreneurs do you know? I mean, do we know a lot of entrepreneurs? I think if you become an entrepreneur, you will find, you can find a circle of those people that will kind of gravitate together. But if you're not an entrepreneur, I don't know how many other entrepreneurs are in your circle, if that makes sense.
The best advice you're going to get is from somebody that has done it or is doing it.
Yeah.
That works 95% of the time on things, unless they're just a whiz at something that you're wanting to learn.
But think about it this way too. So many people equate, oh, well, he's got a nice car, lives in a big house, he must know so much about that. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
If you're not an entrepreneur, you know nothing about it. It's just, and that sounds crazy, it sounds harsh, but it's the truth. If you have been in an institution, a banking institution, or an employee of the same business for 30 years, what experience do you have running your own business as an entrepreneur? Probably none.
Yeah. What would you say to the ones that might say they own their business for 10 years, they were an entrepreneur, and then they got out of it and they went to a banking institution to retire? What would you say about
That's
those
interesting
people?
Because
why did they do that? What made them do it? Maybe
97%, according to Forbes, 97% of entrepreneurs believe that they are exponentially happier being an entrepreneur than they are in corporate America. So
maybe they wasn't really an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Me personally, you can't take me out of this entrepreneurial role and put me into a corporate setting. I
could see you at a bank with a tie on, working the teller, the little thing right there.
I just don't fit in that culture. And I'm sure there's some amazing, Amazon and Google and all these, I'm sure there are amazing places to work. But I think once you get a taste of the autonomy and the flexibility and the opportunities that come with being an entrepreneur, I will never go back. I hope I don't ever have to. Maybe I'll come work for you someday when Vitality Media is like blowing up.
Yeah. I need a light man, all kinds of stuff.
I got you. But you listen to all this, and you go back to all this the exterior noise that's out there. When I left the Marine Corps, I was in the Marines for 8 years. I had finally kind of figured it out. It takes you a long time to figure. The military is a tricky place. You think you know what you're doing when you get in there, and then you realize you know nothing about the Marine Corps, and it takes you almost 8 years to figure out which way's up, and you kind of finally figure things out. And so I remember calling my dad and being like, "Hey, you know what, Pop? I'm gonna leave the Marines, and I'm gonna open up a gym with no AC. I'm gonna charge 5 times what people normally are used to paying. I'm gonna start out in my garage, and I'm not gonna have AC or heat or anything. The workouts are going to be miserable, and I'm probably going to yell at you a lot." And I'm sure he thought it was the dumbest thing he's ever heard. But he didn't. He told me, "Hey, you know what? If that's what you want to do it." And, he wasn't the guy that tried to talk me out of it. And my mom was a much easier sell. She was like, "Wait a minute. You mean you won't ever deploy again? I don't care what you do." So she was game on.
Yeah, she was like, heck yeah, do it.
You know, you can't get hurt in a gym. Little did she know.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I was walking like a stick.
Yeah. So, I can see how those people that are close to you, I was very fortunate to have parents that supported me in whatever I did, no matter how dumb the idea in their mind was. A lot of people don't have that luxury. A lot of people have the people closest to them that are constantly pushing them down and holding them back. And it continues to go, but I think what I've gotten better at over the years is it used to really bother me. That noise used to, I'd still do what I wanted to do, but I would let that noise affect me emotionally. It would make me doubt myself a little bit. So then you start talking about building a building, and there's even more noise. What do I know about building a building? Mm-hmm. What do I know about being a landlord? What do I know about having 11 tenants? I don't know anything about it, but guess what? I bet on myself that I can learn it.
Yeah.
And there were a lot more people that told me I was not smart for doing this building than they did for leaving the Marines. But I stopped caring. And I stopped caring what other people thought because they don't have the experience. They don't anybody that had done what I was trying to do, I didn't have anybody to talk to about that, but I would imagine they would have been a much more enjoyable conversation to say, hey man, listen, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to be the hardest, but this is by far the best thing you can do. So anyway, I think that listening to the noise will consistently keep people held down. And that's the goal of those people that are talking so much. They want you to be in the same rat race, the same hamster wheel that they're in. And they don't want their friend to be out of the rat race. They want their little buddy on the hamster wheel. So that's number
awful.
one. Yeah. Number two, you were right. They give up too early.
See?
Okay.
I knew it was in there.
One stat which is interesting is 62% of billionaires are self-made. A lot of people think, oh, billionaires,
He's the president of that company because he got that position with a degree.
Or their dad gave it to him or whatever.
Probably started it.
Yep. And, what they didn't do was give up. And 23% of the people that are entrepreneurs fail within the first year, the first 12 months. Do you know why? I will tell you why. Because in the beginning, you've got an idea. It's an awesome idea in your brain. It's something that the market needs. There's a hole in the market. There's a huge desire for it. You've got this plan in place. Everyone's excited about it. You've told your friends. The ones that aren't chattering in your ear about how dumb it is, they're telling you how smart you are, and you're believing everything. And then the problem lies when you launch this thing and the 150 things that you didn't think about all come up at the same time.
Yeah.
Your marketing budget was zero. Your commerce site sucks. You have all kinds of expenses that you didn't account for. You got to hire a CPA. You got to do all these different things. And that adversity, it starts to stack on top. And day after day, that will never change. You'll have days where there's no problems, but for the most part, as a small business owner, you're going from problem to problem and just putting out fires.
What about my tripod?
Yeah. Why don't you talk about what happened to your tripod?
Tripod, I've had it for about 5 or 6 years. It's like $70 from Best Buy. Took it back to Best Buy and tried to get that one. They only had the display model. Looked like they've been 4-wheeling with it. And I was like, well, they'll give me this one. Said, nope, we can't do the display model. So I went back there, grabbed another one. The only one that didn't have a tag with it. I thought it might be somewhere in that range. The guy scans it. He said, sir, that'll be $160 plus tax. I said, oh my God. So we have a $200 tripod you'll be watching this on. So hopefully it improves the quality or the stability of everything.
Only my man Philip can take a don't give up too early and come up with well, my tripod costs $200.
We were talking about expenses and stuff. It starts to stack.
If your biggest obstacle is the price of the tripod you have to put your camera on. We're doing okay.
Yeah.
You're doing okay.
It stressed me out, though.
It did. Yes, I did hear that story earlier today. But when you talk about those expenses, well, one of the reasons people fail within that first year are their projections are just completely unrealistic. And the reason is nobody, when you're coming up with your projections, who's doing that? It's you. You are projecting, you're imagining, using your imagination of what your results of the first 2, 3, 4 years of the business are going to be. Well, the problem with that is there is no actual concrete solidified numbers to go behind that. You're saying when I opened up Vitality, I said, okay, I'm going to have 50 members. Those 50 members are going to be paying X amount of money. This is how much money I'm going to make every month. And then I'm just going to magically increase these numbers by 15 every month. Well, on paper, it looks
good.
Really good because there's a bunch of things you're not taking into account. You're not taking into account that maybe your expenses are going to be much different. Maybe your rent is going to increase. Maybe all these different things. Maybe you're not going to be able to acquire 15 new members every month.
COVID hits.
Maybe the entire economy is going to be shut down.
Yeah.
And
could you imagine starting a business this year or last year?
A lot of people did.
And then all of a sudden it just...
Yeah.
And you're not prepared for that at all?
I wonder how those projections went.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, so I always tell people when you're coming up with projections, and what I did was I made the most conservative projections possible to break even, to make enough money to pay my employees, pay myself, keep the lights on, and that's it. And then that number looked much more attainable. But what happens is you fall in love with your plan, you fall in love with your business strategy, and you convince yourself that, oh man, I'm going to be that outlier. I'm the next Elon Musk who is going to create the Tesla that is going to, you know, take over the market. It's not going to happen, okay? And if it does, great, but you can't plan for that. You can't plan on being that the 0.5% that has the ability to take over the market for their product.
You need to plan for what you need and then turn into what you kind of want, I guess, yeah.
And the projections just need to show you what happens, and I did this with the grind. When we opened the grind, I said, okay, what has to happen for us to be able to pay rent and break even? And that's it. That was our number. And it took us 14 months to stop losing money. But I could have easily said, okay, well, the previous company that was here, they did X, Y, and Z, so we'll do X, Y, and Z. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't. On paper, it looks great. Yeah, sure. We're going to make $250,000 the first year. Anybody can put that down on paper. But what that does is it sets you up for failure when you don't hit anywhere near those numbers, and now it gives you an out. It gives you the out to give up too early because you know what? There's a reason why 23% fails in the first year. Because as soon as that adversity hits, they're not ready for it. They're not expecting it. And when it hits them, man, it's like everyone says, everyone's got a game plan until you get punched in the face.
It's like a sucker punch.
Everybody's got a plan.
Yeah.
Well, tell me what happens. Everybody's got a plan until that first round gets fired. Okay? Well, guess what? Plans are going to change. And if you're anticipating that, then you can adapt and you can adjust. But if you have no idea that that's coming, then yeah, you're in a world of trouble. And unfortunately, too many people are taken by surprise by the amount of challenges that they run into their first 12 months. Anybody can run a business for the first 4, 5, 6 months. It's easy. You're excited. You get all this energy. Well, guess what? You get tired. You get run down. Now you're not taking care of yourself the way that you normally do. So now your body's all worn out. Your family was all gung-ho, but now they don't see you anymore. So now your spouse is ticked off at you for coming home late and being gone when they wake up.
And when you come home, you're probably in a bad mood
you're in
too,
a bad
because
mood.
it's not going good.
You're kicking the dog. You know,
What's that thing? Kick the cat?
Kick the cat.
Remember I let you listen to that?
Oh, yeah.
Y'all should listen to that. Check it out. Kick the cat.
Don't do it.
Just YouTube it.
Don't do it. But And all that starts to feed on top of it. I remember laughing with a couple of our coaches here when I was trying to be competitive. I had 2 kids, and most of my coaches didn't have kids. And I was trying to explain to them, man, it's tough sometimes, man. I got to juggle getting home on time. I got lack of sleep. I got all these things. Well, now a lot of these coaches have kids now, and they're looking at me like, dude, I get it now.
I see y'all struggles, and I don't want
it. Philip doesn't have that quite yet, but what?
Nuh-uh.
Okay.
No, sir.
All right. But it's an eye-opening change for sure, and all those things compound on each other, and it becomes easier just to say, you know what, everyone else is right. So then you go back to the noise. The noise is still there. You got people saying, hey, I told you so. I told you it was going to be like this. And you start hearing that, and now you're beat down, and you're like, you know what, you're right, I'm out. And that's why 23% fail within the first year, and it's another 30% within the next 4 years. So, I mean, just because you make it past the first year, you're not out of the woods. And I'll be honest, we've been open a little over 11 years, and the pandemic hurt us. Okay, so just because you're open for a decade doesn't mean
that you can't get taken out.
Yeah. And nobody saw the pandemic coming. No one was ready for that.
That's one thing probably somebody that started a business, that was not on their list, whether they were a great entrepreneur or not. On their list, it wasn't, I got to make sure I got my expenses, I got this. They never probably put on that list, what if a pandemic hits and everything shuts down and you can't go?
But here's the cool part. Guess what? In 30 years, when I'm 70 and I'm talking to my grandkids or whoever else, I hope I can help them and show them, because there'll be kids that have no idea what this pandemic was about. I mean, they'll make a video, a Netflix series about some of the madness that happened through this, but they won't know. They won't have experienced it. They won't. There's so many businesses that were so adversely affected by this. That's such a shame. Hopefully, those stories will trickle down, and it'll provide some very much needed lessons learned for new entrepreneurs. So, number 1, they listen to the noise. Number 2, they give up too early. And number 3, they have a fallback plan. This sounds counterintuitive. You know, in the military, it's, 2 is 1, 1 is none. They talked about redundancy, but you can't really apply that to being an entrepreneur. So many people that I've talked to over the years never fully immerse themselves in their business. They just put their toe in the water and kept their other business, their real job, and their hobby job of a gym owner was always that, just a hobby. Well, here's the thing. There's 25 million entrepreneurs in America. 25 million, and let's call it 330 million as a population. Only 15 million of the 25 million are full-time entrepreneurs. So that means 40% of entrepreneurs have some type of fallback plan. They're a part-time entrepreneur, which is what I talked about earlier, where I said I personally think that's a huge mistake. If you want to know the order that I would put these 3, this right here is number 1 on my list. If you have a fallback plan, I think you are setting yourself up for not being successful. And
a lot of it, they're scared of, like, oh, I'm not going to have as much money and this and that.
For sure.
I went from a job that was I was projected that year when I was at a corporate job to make a little over $100,000 that year. I went from that to something else that I knew I'd be a little happier at, stuff I kind of enjoyed doing, and I went to like $38,000. And once I did that, though, it's went back up, not $100,000, but I had to, you got to make that. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, you'll just be, like you said, your toes will be in the water forever where you're comfortable.
And think about it. On the business side, I'll give 3 examples of this, 3 analogies. On the business side, if you go into your new business and you never fully exit from your previous business, or think about the amount of bandwidth that you're trying to split between 2 things. Now you've got X amount of time that you're putting into your primary job. With whatever's left, you're trying to put that into your secondary job. Yeah. And that's usually late at night where you're just already spent. You can't serve two masters. It cannot be done. It's hard enough to make as an entrepreneur. It becomes impossible when you try and spread your time between multiple things. And I've talked to so many people about this where they just have so many ideas and they have so many things going on and they're average at all of those things. Imagine what they could do if they took 100% of their time, 100% of their effort and put it into one thing.
That's why I used to call myself a jack of all trades, a master of none.
Well, in what capacity?
Everything.
We'll have to ask Spencer if that
okay.
applies on the fitness side.
Okay.
And what happens is, as soon as you run across this adversity, now you get that first kick in the teeth, and you're like, man,
it's terrible.
This sucks. I've got this other job. I'm just going to go back to that one. It'll be the lesser of two evils. You won't be happy. Mm-hmm. You know you won't be happy. But at the time, the pain of your previous job will be less than the pain of your hobby job. Yeah. And you're out. And once that happens, here's the other thing that I think is very interesting. Once you make the leap to try and start something and you fail, how many of those people do you think are going to go do that again? Oh, very few.
Yeah.
Very few. You've now experienced it. You've heard everyone tell you, "I told you so, Philip."
And that'll be part of some of the people that tell you, well, "I've tried it before. Like it's not going to work, man."
So you get one shot at this thing. You get one shot to have the courage to start something on your own. Think about this on the nutrition side. Having a fallback plan is like changing your nutrition strategy and having two Tupperware lunches that you're going to take with you. One is the lunch that you should be eating. The other lunch in the lunchbox is the lunch you want to eat. All right?
Yep.
You sit down, you see both of them, you take the first couple bites of the one that you should be eating. Mm-hmm. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, it's all right. Let me try this.
It's okay. That other one's really good.
Yeah, it's going to make that one even better.
And you know what? Maybe you withstand that the first day or two or 3 days or a week or 2 weeks, but it's always right there. And at any time when you're like, man, I'm so sick of this food, it's right there. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is reach in the box and get it.
Yep.
Fitness. I see it every day. Every day. You got to work out for power cleans. 185 pounds is RX. You're like, man, I can do that. I'm going to have to really work, but I can do that. But just in case, I'm going to put these 15s next to my bar.
Oh, so you can slide it off.
So if it gets tough, if it gets a little too hard, if it gets a little too uncomfortable, I'll slide those 25s off, put the 15s on. Do you know how many times someone has laid those plates down and didn't use them? Have never not seen it been used. Because now, as soon as that first rep goes overhead, you're like, oh, that was okay. Oh, next one, a little bit heavier. All of a sudden, 5 minutes in the workout,
let me swap this. Hey, coach, can you help me swap this?
Hey, God, help me. And they do 165 or 155.
You'd be like me. I just go ahead and drop it from the get-go.
Yeah, and make the decision.
Have a realistic expectation.
Yes. And that's the same thing I'm trying to explain to people when I tell them you cannot sit there and have a fallback plan and expect to go all in, because you're always going to be just waiting for something bad enough to push you back to that other course.
I've always been scared that I'm going to have to go back and use my CDL, so I've always kept it
current and renewed.
I'm truly thinking about, this is tough for me, because I've had it so long, to just not do it. I'm like, man, that's a Class A CDL. Do I keep it current? Just go get that DOT physical?
Only if you want to
in
drive
case
truck.
I need it. Oh, God, I don't want to do that at all.
If that's what you want to do, then you pop that balloon.
You just let it go.
It's gone.
It's just tough to be like, man, I've had that forever. That's almost like a 4-year degree as a license. You're
taught to always have a backup plan, but I don't think that serves you well when it comes time to be an entrepreneur. You cannot have a fallback plan. You cannot have a, hey, if things get tough, I'm going to go do this. Things are going to get tough.
Yeah.
100%. It's not a matter of if, it's a when. So those are the three things that I think that we can all keep in the back of our mind. Stop listening to the noise. Quit giving up too early on things. People give up right before they get it. Right before whatever it is that they're chasing, it's right there. It seems so far away, and it's right there. They just gotta stick it out a little bit longer. And then stop having a fallback plan. Stop giving yourself an out. Don't give yourself any outs. Yeah. Don't give yourself any outs. You say, you know what? I have to make this. I have to be successful. And you know what? When you have to be, it's a different mindset than, it'd be nice because then I could quit this other job and stop doing this other job, and I don't have to pick up that. I can just do this. You know, so hopefully that resonates with some people. I know me personally, those three things were huge for me. That was a huge fight for me in the beginning, and a big part of why we made it as far as we have so far. So, but that's a fight that we continue to fight every day. It's not just because we've been doing this 11 years that those things don't still affect me. They do, but they just, I've learned to manage them and deal with them a little bit. So hope you enjoyed the podcast. Until next time, this is Built by Vitality. Find us on YouTube, iTunes, and anywhere else.
Yeah.
Any other listening platform.
Check it out.
All right.
Put our previews.
All right, guys. Have a great day.